Thank you, Greg. Well, this morning we are so happy to welcome a local sports broadcaster who just came back from covering the Super Bowl.
This is her 4th year covering the big game. Julie Buehler is with 1010 KXPS's Buehler's Day Off and joins us right now. Welcome, Julie.
Thank you, ladies.
Much warmer here in the Valley.
Oh, good Lord. I can feel my face. I couldn't in New York, so it's a refreshing change.
What was it like covering the Super Bowl this year?
Well, a lot of the talk leading up to the Super Bowl was about the weather, and so your antennas are up and you're wondering what it's going to be like in cold weather. Generally, the Super Bowl is held in very warm weather climates, like our Coachella Valley, and it was actually fantastic. The first 3 days were really cold, like 9 degrees, and you couldn't feel your face walking to and from places, but then it warmed up, got to be about 30 degrees, which is shocking still, but 30 and 40 degrees, and it became just a wonderful sight because there's so much energy in the city, and you combine the energy of New York with the energy of a Super Bowl, and it's something spectacular.
Right. How exactly does weather affect players?
Well, a lot of players grow up playing the game of football in weather.
Yeah.
So they didn't really think it was a big deal. Some of the prognosticators and analysts thought it would be problematic because you don't want the championship game being affected by any sort of weather. But at the end of the day, football was forged through mud and sleet and rain. And you know, guys like Dick Butkus and Gale Sayers that have Hall of Fame careers because they played in the elements. So why not Peyton Manning and Russell Wilson too?
That's right. And Julie, I want to bring up a couple of pictures that we have of you covering some of the professional athletes in the past. Now, this is really awesome. You have such great experience. Tell us a little bit about your background.
I was actually born in Seattle and raised a 49ers fan, so that's a little awkward for this past season. But my sports journalism career began about 15 years ago when a journalism instructor told me to punt my chemistry scholarship and take up sports journalism, and I've been doing that ever since, hosting my own sports talk radio show in the Coachella Valley for 4 years, and actually have the distinction of being the first woman in Coachella Valley history to host primetime sports talk radio.
Wow.
So when I'm on Radio Row in New York City or New Orleans, I'm usually one of maybe 3 or 4 women, and usually the only one that's behind that microphone full time. So it's a neat distinction, and I'm very, very honored that Team 1010 would give me that opportunity.
Have you seen changes when it comes to women covering sports?
I certainly have, and I believe that now, probably more than ever, the opportunity for women to be opinion generators, not just sideline reporters and in a complimentary role, but in an analytical role, is definitely expanding, and I believe those opportunities are coming full circle now.
Why do you think the Broncos played so poorly?
Well, I think that it had a lot to do with the crowd noise, and the 12th man, the Seattle Seahawks fan base, is fantastic. And when I was in New York, it was very apparent that there were the majority of Seahawks fans and not majority Bronco fans, probably 5 to 1 Seahawks fans.
Ooh.
So the Broncos, hopefully, they started off wanting to defer kickoff, which means the Seahawks start with the possession on their first snap. Instead, the Broncos had to start with the possession. And then the Seahawks fan base were so loud, the Broncos were not prepared for that. And frankly, the AFC, the conference the Broncos played in, was far weaker than the NFC, the conference the Seahawks came from. So their competition was so much superior that the Seahawks were a more physical team and dominated, absolutely dominated.
Well, Julie, it's obvious you know your stuff, you know your sports, and it's so cool to see a woman in a position like yours covering sports. We do want to mention that Buehler's Day Off airs every Monday through Friday from 3 to 6 p.m. so you can listen to Julie Buehler there. Buehler's
I like the Ferris
Day
Bueller.
Off.
That's Ferris Bueller, not to be mistaken for Julie Buehler.
But he does have better hair, I gotta say that.
Yes, but you're much more attractive, though.
Thank
Well,
you,
stay with this. We have much more for you to come on your KMIR today.